Hello YouTubers. This is the 13th video in our series where we build end-to-end open source schooling system OSSS enterprise level application to help the financially disadvantaged students around the world. The work on the back end for this project has been beyond amazing. We continue to build, newer models and newer capabilities from an API standpoint, but also on the front end, I'm taking this project as an opportunity to work with engineers from all over the world to advocate for a better engineering standard, a standard that helps engineers navigate their way, across this huge ocean of knowledge, with all the different patterns and architecture types and all that kind of stuff that's out there. So today I'm dedicating this particular session to show you how easy it is to upgrade your existing .NET 5 Blazor application into .NET 6 Preview 3. Now, just before I do that, a lot of people, might say, Hassan, every now and then, every, few months, you come in and say, we need to upgrade to the next version, so on and so forth. It's really, really important, that you stay up to date, especially in the software industry. If you're not staying up to date with the latest and greatest changes, it's very likely that you're going to be falling behind. And then when you're going to need, like, more often than ever, 21 years doing this business, I've seen people that, would say, oh, we don't need to upgrade to version 2, 3, or 4. And then when version 5 or 6 comes out, they say, oh, there's this feature that our client is requesting us to do, so let's upgrade to version 6. And what's basically happening is that they have to deal with all the issues in between version 2 and version 6. It's basically a deferred debt, because eventually at some point in time, if you have a successful business, successful application, even for good sport, like for your own learning capability, you want to go and actually be able to keep all your projects up to date, update all your projects, so you get to have that kind of experience, that kind of learning from upgrading a particular project to the latest and greatest standards. But more importantly than this is that when a new version of .NET rolls out, it doesn't just come in with really hot, cool stuff, features like hot reload and dynamic components and all that kind of stuff. It also comes in with security patches. You need to actually secure your application. The ongoing war between, people who build systems and people who attack these systems, people who defend systems, people who attack these systems, is forever going. There's always a vulnerability. There's always something. There's no such a thing as perfect system. Systems evolve, new vulnerabilities are created or discovered, and then, new patches and new security patches are required to actually take care of that. The most recent one of them all is the system text encoding or something like that. That one had its security vulnerability, and people needed to go and actually upgrade all their versions, to the latest and greatest, to make sure that they don't have any issues with their ASP.NET applications. So with that, let's go ahead and, pick up OSSS, which is our project here that we've been working on. Here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that I have the latest in here. I'm just going to go and say get log, get pull, origin master. I think I'm already on the master branch, so I should be fine. Already up to date. Perfect. And the last thing is that I updated the README with the latest video. Perfect. So what do I have today? There's a couple of things that I want to upgrade today. I want to upgrade to .NET 6, that's for sure. But I also want to use this new release, amazing release that Egil Hansen just released, which is the BUnit version 1. BUnit version 1. I'm going to show you how much changes this is going to be, and hopefully you're going to like what you see. So for starters, let's just go ahead and upgrade to .NET 6. So I'm just going to go ahead in here. You want to make sure, before I forget, I'm running this on Visual Studio Preview. The exact version that I'm running on is Visual Studio Enterprise 2019 Preview, and it's Preview 2.0. 2.0, so that's the version basically, and then you have 4.8, 04, 084. So that's basically where I'm at right now. And before I do the .NET 6, just a quick reminder here. If you go into the, where do you get that from? If you type in .NET 6, you're going to see a download page here, and the download page will have .NET 6 Preview version 3. Now, you might ask me a question, say, Hassan, how do I know which version of .NET 6 do I have on my machine? Maybe I downloaded .NET 6 Preview 1 or 2. It's very simple. If you go into your package manager console and say .NET dash dash version like this, it'll tell you which version you have already active and installed on your system, right? Now that doesn't mean that all the other versions that you have installed are not available. Obviously, you can switch between .NET 3, .NET 5. This will give you the latest, version, the one that you have your system running on right now. So that's basically that. So that's that. Let me actually increase the font here. I always forget this, and I'm really sorry about that. But let me go to 150%, and hopefully that would just make it a lot easier for people to see what I'm dealing with here. So this is this guy. It's a little bit harder to, let me just organize the windows here real quick. Here we go. And here is, okay, here's OBS. Okay, so so Package Manager, I know that I'm running .NET 6.0 100 Preview 3, right? And I'm gonna upgrade both my test project and my portal project, and we're gonna run it real quick just to make sure things are working. So I'm just gonna save in here. If you don't trust these properties, you can always do right click and go to Edit Project File, and you'll see the version being upgraded right here. Okay, so just for people that don't really trust the UI, you can definitely go. Sometimes I don't trust the UI myself. All right, so that's the first one. I'm gonna go ahead and also upgrade my test project to .NET 6. So when I build, it doesn't cry and complain about what's going on. Okay, so let's go ahead and rebuild the system. Here we go. And all good and dandy, right? So we rebuilt the entire system. Everything seems to be in place. Perfect. Now let me go ahead and run the test just to make sure everything is functioning as expected. Here we go. And all the tests are passing. Perfect. So that's the first step. First step, I upgraded .NET 6. No problem there. You want to make sure everything is in place. Put a commit there just for, so I'm going to go ahead here and say config, right? There's a standard for, describing your commit. It helps you a lot running reports and knowing what kind of activity you are running on your system and all that kind of stuff, which is something we're going to talk about in a different series, which is the standard series. So this is config, and then here upgrade to .NET 6.0 Preview 3. Be as specific as you can be. It's your due diligence. Okay, so I have a running working solution. Actually, we need to run it first. Let's just make sure that it's actually running and it's showing us the student registration form. All right, there you go. So I have a student registration form. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and upgrade to this new cool library Egil Hansen put together. So I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to go to Manage NuGet Packages right here. And if you look in here, you'll see that the last time we were here, we did a beta 11, right? Let's go ahead and upgrade this to 1.019. So let's go ahead and update that guy. There you go. All right, so I upgraded BUnit. You know what? While I'm at it, why don't I just upgrade everything else, right? So let's just go ahead in here and upgrade everything else. So what's in my preview here? Alpha 6.0, Fluent Assertions, .NET Test. Yeah, let's you know what? Let's have a party. Let's upgrade everything. All right, here we go. All right. Perfect. Now let me go ahead and rebuild my solution here. Build successful. Beautiful. And I can go ahead and run the test.NET test. You can also run it from the UI. That's just, nerdy, not trusting me saying what's going on here. Okay, so we have this error here. And this error basically, these are the 7 tests. And if you look at these errors, this is what you're gonna notice here. These tests, Egil changed few things, that makes it, I think, makes it a bit simpler to run tests for BUnit. There are things that we used to add in the past that we don't have to add. So if you go in here and you go into the error that comes out from these tests, they'll say this is an invalid operation, unable to resolve this I configuration thing. I personally suggest you don't need to add this add server-side Blazor anymore, right? And as soon as you remove that, it's just as simple as this. Go ahead and run your application real quick. Done. All right, it's just as simple as that. You don't need to add this anymore. Egil is doing a lot of work behind the scenes. I think it's great. I'm super grateful for him, having me not to have to add that line, because I don't want to add everything I have in the back here. If I'm adding server-side Blazor, why don't I just add Blazor pages and add every other scope thing? It's just nonsense. It doesn't make sense to me. I like my code to be precise, to actually describe exactly what it's trying to accomplish without having to rebuild the world. Very grateful for this feature. This eye configuration thing, it took some people that I'm working with quite some time to figure it out. And yesterday I just, I thought I gotta figure this out. I need to put a video out there about upgrading to OSSS and upgrading any Blazor application .NET 6. And that was the answer. It's sweet and simple. You don't have to worry about anything. It's just remove this add razor pages and you should be good to go. I don't know if you'll find this on Stack Overflow, but please, if you see someone asking that question, feel free to, refer them to this video or just give them the answer straightforward. I don't even care about the credit. So that's that. Let's run everything else back like this. Okay, so I have my entire solution running. I have my test in good place. Let's go ahead and commit this piece as well. I'm just going to go ahead and say config upgrade BUnit to 1.0.19, I think. Okay, just because my tests are passing, I want to also make sure that my test is running, my application is running. So I'm going to go ahead and run my application here real quick, just to make sure I have the right view. There you go. Beautiful. You have your view in here. You can, you have your date time picker. You have everything. Don't worry too much about the CSS and all that. We're actually going to switch over to some a nice Blazor component library, so we don't even have to worry about. But of course, we're going to encapsulate that with a base components. Okay. Now that we upgrade our solution, technically the job here is done, but I want to show you some of the cool stuff. If you haven't watched my video about dynamic components, please go ahead and watch my video about dynamic components. But I'm going to also show you hot reload. What is this hot reload thing? If you go and change today, if I want to change, for instance, I want to go and say in my student registration component, I really don't like the submit student, right? I want to call it add student. Usually, historically speaking, we used to go and shut down the solution, go change the content, and then save, and then run the solution again. It's just really, it's a nuisance, right? So there's this cool thing called hot reload. Let me show you how that works. You can basically go ahead in here and say .NET watch. Watch this magic. .NET Oh, hold on. Yeah, it needs it to specify a project. So this is a project. And then if you do tap, it says which project. I don't know what you're talking about. And rightfully so. So here's my project right here. So .NET Watch project. It's going to start a little server for you, a little hosted server environment. And you see that link in here? That's where your solution is. You can, of course, modify this if you want to by going into your properties section and changing which port or URL you want to work with. So that's this guy. But now I have this solution running, which is amazing. That basically means I can go into this page in here and I just type in localhost 5001 like this, and I have my solution running. Okay, now here comes the tricky part. I want to be, let me see if I can split those like this. So let me pull my Visual oh, that's the whole thing. Hold on. So let's see if I can pull Visual Studio up. Yeah, there you go. So this is Visual Studio here, and this is my view. And let me show you some of that hot load magic that happens behind the scenes. So you see that submit button in here. I can go straightforward to my code in here, and I can go and say add student. So as soon as I clicked save, it will try to attempt to reload. Doesn't work most of the time. It says I couldn't connect to the server reload, but if I reload like this, boom, you have add student going on. So you can You can work with your code without having that extra step. This is what I really love about this the most. Hot reload is the engineering experience, right? It's one thing when you deliver a beautiful application that, everyone really loves using. That's great, but that's at the end of the journey. I want the journey itself to be fun for you. And in order for that to happen, tooling like these, like some of the really smart people on the both ASP.NET team and people that provide the experience through Visual Studio integrated development environment, they put that brain power that some of the most intelligent people I've ever seen, they put that brain power into making your development experience fun. It really needs to be fun because that's where you spend the most of your career. You spend the most of your career, the most of your life as a software engineer building code, not demoing code. So it makes more sense to invest into the experience of building code, and then the demoing code part would be a side effect of all of that. So now I could just change things as much as I want. Of course, I'm gonna have tests failing, but as soon as you save, it detects that your files have changed, and then it goes back. And by the way, just hot reload is not something super new to this industry. Hot reload exists in a lot of other applications, especially JavaScript developers that basically work with JavaScript and React and Angular and all of these Amber.js and as far as I can remember, libraries for JavaScript, they have that already, but bringing it to Blazor and allowing you to do that in Blazor, that's a completely different, realm. And just to make sure, and just for you, this is not just for the markup. Let me go back to the screen here. This is not just for the markup. This also applies to the actual functionality, right, within the system. So, for instance, I can go ahead in here, so I still have my server running. I can go ahead in here and say when I can't connect to the server for whatever reason, let's say this is a validation dependency, I might get a validation exception, right? And I say apply submission failed or whatever the case may be. I can go back into this code here where I say apply submission failed. And I can go ahead. Let's first run it without my changes. So I'm just going to go ahead in here and say, here's the submission. Invalid student view error occurred. Parameter name identity number is invalid. Now let's go ahead in here and just do whatever I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and say my own error message in here. So this applies to even the code behind the scenes. Let's go back here. See, it's trying to reload, and now if I click again, it'll say my own error message. Hot reload. You don't have to rebuild, you don't have to clean, you don't have to do none of that. You're running, for a screen, a big screen like this, you're going back and forth between your code and the browser without having to worry about building, and it just takes away an additional step that you don't really need to have, which I really appreciate from an experience standpoint. Now, some links, some really useful links. Go and look at .NET 6 preview. There's some links I'm going to include in the description of this video as well, but here is the announcement of .NET 6. There's also another announcement. If you follow Microsoft Dev blogs, you'll be able to see this is .NET 6 Preview 3. Here you go. You can see the performances and all stuff. Richard Lander goes into extreme depths when it comes to, propagating all the work that the engineering team and the .NET team are working on to show you what the capabilities are, because we're building this, you're building a software that can handle many different capabilities and different applications, some of which are enterprise applications, some of which are, if you heard about the news, GitHub code, people writing code landed on Mars. Some of the code that you're going to be writing might end up being in something that's very critical for humanity. And if that's the mindset that you're building your code with, you may as well really care about all of these little details from a performance standpoint. So you can see here the difference performances, but more importantly, if you follow the ASP.NET blog, you see Daniel Roth here just about 12 days ago also announced, the .NET Preview 3 is now available, and here's a bunch of details about the dynamic, doing dynamic components, Redis profiling sessions, HTTP3, so many different things are amazing. I'm assuming this is the hot reload. There you go, hot reload support. He says it's an initial hot reload support, but they get there. Just like how he said Daniel Roth, just like I said, we have an initial application that allows you, or proposal that allows you, or framework that allows you to run C# in the browser. The same thing happens in here. Now you have Blazor, and you can actually build enterprise, production-ready, end-to-end applications with no problem. Some of the other cool things that I might have a special video for is also the allowing you to switch the Blazor view into WPF and mobile view. All of this will be things that we eventually will discuss and talk about. So let's just go ahead, the final step in here to just go ahead and commit this code for people that want to see. Let me revert the stuff that I really don't care about. There you go. And then all I have to do is just push my code. My code should be, and this is the new Visual Studio, so the push I think is up here. I usually just use command line, but I guess clicking some buttons is also fine. So that's this. Where do you find this code? Where do you find the upgrade to .NET 6? If you go into OSSS portal, you should see all these videos, that we've been working on, and also the upgrade to BUnit 1.0 19. Tests are running. Everything is in good shape. There's few hiccups down the road, but that should be all that it is. That's pretty much it. There will be we will continue this series about building an open source schooling system, as we go. There is a lot of things that we can take advantage of, but more importantly, I wanted you to see what it's like to upgrade your existing project to .NET 6. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in another video.